Well, world, it is Monday, April 11th, 2022, and looking out the window at Defiance, it looks like it's trying to be a nice day. And I think it will be this morning and then rain again this evening. I don't think we're having a real dry spell until sometime next week. We might have a week or two with out every day of rain, which would be nice. And the devotion for today is kind of appropriate because when it rains, the worms come out of the ground. And the devotion is entitled When Worms Rule, written by Matt Laney. And Matt bases the devotion upon the Gospel of Mark, chapter 10, verses 35 through 37. James and John, sons of Zebedee, came forward to Jesus and said, "Teacher, we want you to do for us whatever we ask of you." And he said to them, "What is it you want me to do for you?" And they said to him, "Grant us to sit, one at your right hand and one at your left, in your glory." And Matt writes, "I love to eat fish, but I never much liked fishing. I was that kid who struggled putting the worm on the hook. I could think of 1,000 other ways to spend the afternoon than sitting in a boat, lamenting my worm's untimely demise. Fishing in Jesus' time was no picnic for more significant reasons. Rome controlled all the waters and any resources collected from them. Fisherfolk like James and John, the sons of Zebedee, had to pay for the right to fish whether or not fishing was successful. Heavy taxation, along with the cost of boats and nets, kept Galilean fishers at a subsistence level. In short, they were treated like dirt, or like worms. With that in mind, James and John's request for top positions in the Jesus Christ and Glory Corporation makes a little more sense. Jesus preached a dramatic reversal of fortunes and power. The worms of today would be rulers of tomorrow. James and John wanted saved seats. Jesus demurred. Such appointments were above his pay grade, he said. Besides that, James and John obviously needed a little more humility on their resume. The gospel is about leveling. It's not only about the lowly being lifted up, it's also about the lofty being lowered until we are all in the same boat. And the prayer. Thank you, loving God, for making us more than worms and less than monarchs for the good of all. Amen. Excuse me. Well, a couple of things that came to mind as I was reading this devotion is in my sermon last Sunday, I was giving a summary of some major parts of the Gospel of Luke. And one of them was the Magnificat, where Mary's pregnant. She meets Elizabeth and feels the child leap in her womb, and or I should say, Elizabeth feels her child leap in her womb, and Mary's just exalted, but talks about that leveling. And then Jesus, when he's an adult and he begins his ministry, reads from the prophet Isaiah, which also talks about that kind of leveling, that we're all in the same boat. And I couldn't help but think about the disparity that seems to be growing in the United States more and more, where those with money just seem to be accumulating so much more, and those at the bottom are actually getting less and less. And the people at the top don't really get that money without the work of the people at the bottom. And there's got to be a better way. And I think that's one of the things Christ talked about, is a better way to distribute the gifts that God has given us, so that all can have life abundantly. And that just doesn't work when some people hoard. And that's another story that's always in the Bible, too. Anyway, I hope you get a chance to enjoy some of this sunshine this morning before it fades into rain this afternoon. And I hope to talk to you again tomorrow.